So, like Mantis, right? Empathetic bug lady, yeah? That's her. You may know her from such comedic interactions with Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, or with Rocket in Guardians of the Galaxy, the video game. But she goes back way further than that. How far back, you ask? The 70s, bro. 1973, to be more specific. Roy Thomas was the editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics at the time, taking over from a little scamp named Stan Lee. What are comic book editors all about? Well, big convoluted universes with colorful characters, of course. Oh yeah, and sales. These New York boys loved themselves selling some comic books. And you know what their top-selling comic book at the time was? Yeah, you're right, it was Spider-Man. Mantis, the topic of today's video, was nowhere near Peter Parker and the gang. She popped up in 3 innocuous panels for issue 112 of The Avengers. The Avengers was selling really well too at the time. Don't get me wrong, it sat there right alongside company pillars like Spider-Man, Incredible Hulk, and the Fantastic Four, probably selling more than the latter some months during this time. The Avengers writer at the time was a guy named Steve Englehart. Steve was a big fan of femme fatale archetypes. That, my friends, is where Mantis comes into play. Mantis was Steve's attempt at bringing someone in to vamp up the Avengers. His words, not mine. So, as we established, what drives the motivations of editors? That's right, folks, sales. But what do I personally not give a crap about? You got it, folks, sales. What do I give 2 shakes about? Character design and presentation, Bucky. I also love calling people Bucky. So we're gonna take all that messy lore, history, and exposition, ball it up, and toss it into the ocean to be forgotten forever. No longer shall we concern ourselves with the interpersonal dynamics between characters, for we care for a much more shallow cause. Costumes, capes, cowls, bodysuits, and color schemes. That's our play. So hit like and press subscribe so we can begin the comic evolution of Mantis. Okay, so like Steve Englehart loved Mantis, right? He had huge plans for her within the universe. Some people have said that he had aspirations to make her the center of all Marvel storytelling. That sounds pretty crazy with the benefit of hindsight. Even though Steve was attached to the character, he in fact did not design her. As you know, we're here to discuss design. So the first dude to draw Mantis was the same guy who co-created Iron Man, Black Widow, and Hawkeye. That artist's name was Don Heck. Don Heck and Steve Englehart are both legends in their own right. And I'm saying all this just to say that Mantis was created by top-tier comic book talent, and they had big plans for her at first. In Mantis's first appearance, she's drawn with pale skin, regular eyes, and no antennas. In other words, there's nothing bug-like about her in the slightest when she first graces the pages. Her color scheme is yellow and green, evoking feelings of both caution and care simultaneously. It seems like Don Heck was pushing for a lunar motif with Mantis, giving her moon earrings and a belt. And do we have any foot freaks in the house? And if so, you're gonna love Mantis, you degenerates, because Mantis is just out here flaunting the dogs like it's Westminster. If you love drastic character design evolutions as much as I do, this is one of the GOATs. I get such a kick out of when a character's first appearance is unrecognizable from the more commonly known modern interpretations. Take note of how the yellow and green are blocked on this dress. Also notice the cut and silhouette, shoulder pads included. There is a lot going on here. And in my opinion, it's not the most appealing character design, but Don Heck sure knew how to draw a face. By the time we get to her third appearance, Mantis has moved from a mysterious B character all the way to the cover of the Avengers number 114. And I told you not to get attached to that other dress. Also, forget this one too. Moon motif also out the window. Inside the book, a whole new dress. That's 3 dresses in 3 issues. This is only notable because in Marvel, characters have a designated uniform once it's established. I love seeing the creative team have fun in real time workshopping this new character. Back to the cover for a second though. We notice that Mantis now has antennae, but they look more like stray bits of wispy hair. I wouldn't call any bit of this design any way bug inspired, even though those antennae would suggest that it is. This issue is a wild ride though, and it has more twists than a Twizzler factory. Well, maybe not that many twists, but at least 3. As far as the dress is concerned, this thing is insane. The half-split color block is definitely one of the decisions of all time. I understand that that the shoulder pads are meant to emulate a praying mantis, but they just serve to muddy up the silhouette. It's wild to me that they had plans to make Mantis the center of the universe, and this was her design. That said, I don't hate it. The potential is there, but to me the outfit doesn't really suit her powers or personality. Those powers would start to reveal themselves in this book. After she summoned the Avengers' big enemy, the Lion God, to the Avengers headquarters, she told the Avengers that she just had to do it because she felt that there was a malignant force that hovered above them. That means she's an empath, I guess. She can feel others' feelings, or whatever. And just a couple panels earlier than this, she's doing these insane dance moves to harness the powers of plants or something. So for those keeping score, she's a bug plant lady hybrid femme fatale that can feel your feelings. There are hints that she uses the powers of nature when she does her strange hypnotic dances. She's stronger than the entirety of the Avengers and is shown handily throwing them around. She's a master of every martial art, and her destiny was to rise to the very top of a comic book empire, and she looked like this. She's a chaotic hot mess. It may sound like I'm mocking her design or taking the piss out of the creators, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. Mantis embodies everything that I love about the storytelling medium of comic books. Messy, chaotic, colorful, and experimental are just some of the adjectives that I could use to describe Mantis's origin. Mostly, it can be summed up with one word though, and that word is wacky. This is just straight up wacky. Later on in 1974, in Giant-Sized Avengers number 4, Mantis is revealed to be the Celestial Madonna, whatever the hell that means. By the time we get here, the shoulder pads are no longer bent like Mantis arms. They protrude straight up, just like her antenna. Speaking of her antenna, they're looking a little better here. However, I'd say making them the same color as her hair really muddies up the design. Her red belt buckle has been transformed from a circle into this more traditional crest shape. But other than that, Celestial Madonna or not, nothing much has changed. And speaking of the Celestial Madonna, for issue 4 of Giant-Sized Avengers, the origin of the Celestial Madonna is explained. I don't know what it is, but Don Heck doesn't seem to be putting the same kind of care into drawing Mantis as he did when she was first introduced. The proportions are all over the place. The face is super wonky and changes from panel to panel, and the gestures and poses seem to lack the dynamicism of the earlier books. It seems like they have settled on a dress design, but now the shoulder pads are back to being bent. The story in this book is so weird, and it sees Mantis marry this perfect tree and then get shot off into space. Later on in a future book, it's revealed that her and her lover, that tree or whatever, they merge into one and have a kid. And that kid is meant to be the Celestial Messiah. As if we couldn't jam-pack any more insane lore into Mantis. Thus ends Mantis's first run with Marvel. When her creator Steve Englehart jumped ship to Marvel's biggest competitor, DC, to embark on his legendary Batman run, he actually took Mantis with him in an unprecedented move. He couldn't call her Mantis for this unofficial crossover though. So for issue 142 of Justice League of America, he debuted her under a new name. In the DC universe, Mantis would be called Willow. For whatever reason, Steve Englehart felt the need to make Mantis speak in the third person, and let me tell you folks, by this point in my reading, I'm finding it very annoying. I guess whatever happened to her with the Priests of Palma turned her into Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for some reason. If you smell la 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 la, what I hate Jeff is cooking. This issue of JLA has art by Dick Dillon on pencils, Frank McLaughlin on inks, and Jerry Serp on colors. Their interpretation of Mantis was drastically different from Don Heck's. Everything has changed, from her hair, to her skin, to her costume and characterization. Her antennae are now represented by these little ovals. Does that imply that her antennae were chopped off in the way Hellboy's horns were? I, unfortunately, don't have the answer to that question. In my opinion though, the skin and the costume are much better here. The color scheme has gone from green and yellow to green and purple. This new colorway is still more in line with that of a villain's. It communicates to the reader a certain level of mystery. Is she being honest? Or is she being manipulative? Can we trust her? So in that sense, this use of color theory really works well for the story that they're telling in this floppy. That long sleeve romper with the half cape combo that she's rocking adds to her cosmic, otherworldly vibe. Her green skin could be explained by her becoming one with her husband tree thing, but the book doesn't make that correlation. That's just me extrapolating a little bit. Steve wasn't done taking Mantis on a publisher tour. Their next stop would be for Eclipse Comics for issue 2 issue of Scorpio Rose in 1983. Here, Mantis would go by another name, now going by Lorelei. She's still speaking in the third person, referring to herself as this one. Steve was making it clear as day that this was indeed Mantis, and he bent copyright law and intellectual property rights into a pretzel in order to make it work. It working, however, would be subject to great debate, as Mantis wasn't really a hit with audiences or comic book professionals at the time. Here, as Lorelei, she is worlds away from her start as a feminist vixen. She seems to be a domesticated single mother serving coffee and exposition. There is nothing heroic or celestial about her design, because she tells us that her only purpose is to raise her son. And her son, remember, is the person that was prophesized to go on to become the celestial Messiah. And spoiler alert, he's a bad guy, a very bad guy. But we're not here to talk about that. The story she tells us in this book is exactly the story of Mantis we're all familiar with at this point, and nothing is left to ambiguity. This is blatantly Mantis, and in my opinion, it's her best design by far. Her costume suits the story being told. She's wearing a modest salmon-colored blouse and a white headkerchief. Very simple, subdued, and cozy. They're finally showing a bit of restraint with her design and not just going balls to the walls insane. Many people have said many critical things about the handling of Mantis's character throughout her early years. From her problematic start as a Vietnamese bar girl, to her convoluted saga that revealed her to be the celestial Madonna, to her plans to become the center of everything, all the way to the myriad of whiplash retcons that seem to occur with every appearance. To some, Mantis's mysterious nature could be seen as lazy writing. It makes it feel like she's not only a mystery to the readers, but a mystery to the people creating her as well. It seems like they're just making it up as they go along, and when they come across a potential pothole, it's explained away by saying, "Isn't she just so mysterious, guys?" All of those critiques feel accurate to me, and I understand why as a reader, she's not the most compelling or captivating character of all time. But to me, like I said earlier, the way the creators handle Mantis embodies what I love about comics. It feels improvisational, and in a medium with such strict editorial guidelines, it's so fun to see a character feel like jazz with the energy of punk rock. The fact that she's the creation of a crazy man with a crazy plan just endears her even more to me. Mantis would return to Marvel alongside her creator in 1988 for issue 3 of The Silver Surfer, where she appears on the last page as a full splash. The green and yellow half-split dress has made a return. Her skin kept the same green shade it had gotten with her time in DC and Eclipse. The antennae are looking more like antennae than ever before. The dress is still not my favorite, but what it represents is still great. If you're only familiar with the Mantis from the movies, then this origin is a wild departure. In the movies, she's the quirky, empathetic bug lady, whereas in the comics, she's more of a Vietnamese plant bug, empathetic martial arts tree bride godmother. You got all that? In the movies, she was raised by the living planet Ego, but in the books, she was raised by a group of pacifist Cree monks known as the Priests of Palma. I can't say any of this without laughing, by the way. The book version and the movie version are essentially two different characters. I feel that there's a perfect Mantis somewhere in between those two versions. Speaking of the movies, let's direct our attention there for a quick little detour. I'm not one to normally discuss skin tone when it comes to character design, but for Mantis, I feel like I have to. Her pale skin tone makes sense when she's depicted as an Asian lady. The green skin made sense because she merged with the tree thing. I'm not sure I like the pale skin on the movie version because she wasn't born on Earth in the movies. She's a plant bug creature, so I feel that green suits her best. And that's what I mean by there's a perfect Mantis between the two versions. If the movie version had green skin and knew a bunch of cool fighting moves, I'd like her so much more. But I feel no designer really dialed in a good costume for her. That is, until 2024. Marvel rivals, Bucky, they perfected the Mantis design. They made the pale skin work for me, although her selection icon has much buggier eyes than her in-game model. That should be fixed. Her antennae are the most satisfying shape they have ever been. I find them to be a little bit unsettling in the movie, to be honest. But here, they add so much to her appeal. I love the little bulbs at the tip and how there's a green gradient going on. It's a perfect hybrid of plant meets bug, in my opinion. But also alien alien and also lady. It all works. And I would be remiss not to include the elf ears. Elf ears immediately add 10 extra aesthetic points and evoke fantastical feelings of a magic forest. The elf ears are a perfect choice. And the way that they poke out from the hair a little bit make the silhouette more interesting. It's brilliant. This design clearly communicates her qualities, and all that green makes her seem trustworthy and humble. Color theory is being used to masterful degrees with this design. I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that Rivals really cracked the Mantis code. Usually, I'm not a huge fan of when the comics change their vision to suit whatever is happening in other superhero media. In this case, however, I certainly wouldn't be mad if this became her new permanent design. She's been around for 53 years, bro, and her lore is still a confusing mess. But since the Guardians of the Galaxy one is the one most people know, I guess we can just all forget about the Priest of Palma and the Celestial Madonna. Thanks for watching.